Talk about what you did with TuneCore.
Well, what I did with TuneCore is in 2005, October of 2005, I was contemplating, trying to figure out what to do with the rest of my life because my label wasn't doing so well. And a whole bunch of thoughts had crossed my head, but one in particular was, wow, things have changed. I don't need physical pick, pack, and ship manufacturing and trucks to ship crap off to Walmart. I can just deliver a digital file from my hard drive to Apple's hard drive, and it's available in the largest music retail store in the world. And by the way, it's not just available in the United States, it's available around the world. You manage one of the most successful bands on the planet. You know, getting that your clients, your artist music released around the world is a task. You have to take that album and you have to have someone do it in the US and someone in Germany and France and Italy and Spain.
Same
and
process
Israel,
replicated
right?
around the world. Tough.
Right, exactly. Whereas now, you can click a button and it's available worldwide. So the thing with TuneCore was, number one, I thought, well, there's no reason not to let everybody in. Why do we have gatekeepers? Right? The idea that all artist music can be available to be found if searched for and discovered in retail stores can now happen. What do I need to throw up that barrier for? The second part of it was, I didn't think it was appropriate or fair to take a percentage of the money that was generated when the music sold in the digital retail store. See, in the old school model, distribution companies would take a percentage of the sale.
The distribution companies were owned by the record labels
right?
themselves.
So you have the distributor, exactly, they get to double, triple dip because they're also manufacturing. The physical distributor would buy the CD from the record label for $10, and they would sell it to Best Buy, who would mark it up to $16.98. And when it did sell, if it sold, Best Buy would ultimately pay the distributor $10. The distributor would take 20%, for use here, right, of that money and pass the rest back to the record label. But I would argue that the physical distributor earned it, right? They did things we haven't even touched on.
Particularly back in those days, particularly true.
Cooperative advertising, return processing, refurbishing, sales reps taking the guy from Tower out to see the show, buying someone a washing machine in Florida so Wilson Phillips gets front racked, whatever the hell it was, right? So
the washing machine is not really what they were buying, folks, but carry on.
Yeah, it's to wash the clothes afterward. But in the digital world, a distributor didn't play the same role.
Yeah.
The distributor was just moving a file from one hard drive to another. What they had was the magic contract with Apple, right? And so when I was contemplating all this, I got really pissed off at the idea that I could be the band The White Stripes. I could have 4 catalog albums, go on to have international success on V2 Records, and some shitty company would take my back catalog, put it on iTunes, and take 20 or 30% of the revenue every time the music sold for doing nothing.
Nothing, yeah.
They just moved it there.
Yeah.
Or I would be an artist and I would get signed to one of these new distribution companies and I would go out and I would gig and I would sleep on floors and I would eat ramen and I would max out my credit cards. And every time I sold some of my music from what I did, 15, 30% of my money would go over to this other company because they put it on the shelf of iTunes. I just thought that was wrong. So what I did is I said, okay, let's take this and change the equation. For the first time, let's let any artist on the planet have access to put their music into the retail stores, distribution, and do it under a model where they keep their copyrights. I don't want them.
Yeah.
You keep them. And you pay a flat fee to me for the service. I'll put your stuff into iTunes and Amazon and Rhapsody and wherever it goes. And when it sells, you get all the money. I don't take any of it.
Yeah.
Right? It's a new business model. It's not the revenue that my company is predicated on isn't made on what's called exploitation of the master recordings.
So it's a service.
It's a fee-for-service model, and for the first time in history of this world, an artist or a label, however you want to frame it, would know exactly how much money they were paying on day one for distribution. I got to tell you, if my record label Spin Art, 20 records, if I was paying $50 a year for exactly 200.
Still be at Spin Art Records.
It would be, because it would have been a flat upfront fee. I would have known how much it is. Now, push back, as you go through the years, I was the CEO, still and founder for 6.5 years. It became the largest music distribution company in the world, representing over 5% of all digital music sales in the United States. EMI is at 7.5%. So TuneCore as a company, representing the everybody else, became as big as the majors.